This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. Markwayne Mulllin, we took a 1 month break, but now we are back. But I just got to say, when we were talking off air, you were kind of throwing your staff under the bus, and I happen to like them. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, I send the right links to these things every time, and then y'all just, I don't know.
No, Mike, this is exactly what I said. So just so you know, I said, you suck on sending the right link the first time.
Which is not how you would expect someone would talk to one of their constituents.
That's exactly what I said, because every time we log on, you send us a new one after we log on.
It's not the new one. It's the same one, because I'm like, hey, for whatever reason, it's like y'all are looking through the chest for Narnia, like, oh, where's the link?
Do you know what is interesting about that?
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, is that we do, I don't know, maybe... I know you think you're special, but you're not that special, but you are special.
Great.
But we do probably 4 or 5 of these a week. And you're the only one we had this issue with.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to say anything bad about your staff. I'm not going to throw them under the bus because I know they're within earshot. And all I know is when we schedule like 3 or 4 of these at a time, I send you all the links all at once, and then I send them again in the afternoon. But you know who's not having any problems right now? The Oklahoma State wrestling team. Guys, it is wrestling season if you didn't know that, right? So we got a bunch of different sports going, but we got the Oklahoma State Cowboys that are flying away. So before we get into any of the sticky, icky things that are going on in the houses of Congress or in the White House, don't worry, we'll get there. I want to know what's your read about this year's Cowboys squad, and do they have what it takes to potentially make a run at Penn State later on? I guess it would be next year.
You know, we'd love to have Penn State come to the national duels. They opted out. I'm not saying that Penn State runs from anybody, so I don't say that at all. I just think it was kind of bad that they didn't show up. We had some holes in the team. Did you see our 3 true freshmen showed up?
Yikes.
True freshmen.
Right.
These guys showed up in fashion. We lost some close matches to Iowa. I think we're going to look good. Are we going to be ready to take on Penn State? Possibly, but I know our team will be next year for sure. And I think this year we're going to make a run at it. Nebraska, who came in number 2, we absolutely destroyed them, but a tournament team is different than a dual team.
Yeah.
People can have a great tournament team and not have the best dual team, because I'll have 5 guys that are studs on their team, or 4 guys that can run through the whole tournament, and they have several holes. So, I think duels versus, tournament is two different measuring sticks, but Oklahoma State's going to be in the top 3, I think, for sure. And you see what Coach Taylor's doing over there. He's doing a phenomenal job. I still have 2 boys that are technically on the team. It's kind of tough because this is the first year, Kyle, that I don't have a boy on the mat. Because Jim and Jace, who is 25 and 33 pounder at Oklahoma State, they both had to get medically retired from the NCAA. Jace blew out to his neck and had to get C5 replaced. And so they put him in a medical retirement, which means he still gets all his scholarship benefits, but the NCAA won't allow him to wrestle anymore. And then Jim had too many concussion protocols put against him and too many concussions, and so they also medically retired him, which once again still part of the team, still on the roster, just can't compete for NCAA anymore. They could compete on the world stage if they wanted to. That's difficult. And then Andrew at OU, he should be a 74 pounder there, but he's still having a lot of medical issues with his lungs, and we're still going back and forth to Rochester. So they've got him medically redshirted right now, and so it's just tough. I mean, my girls are wrestling, thank goodness, but not having a boy wrestle, that's part of the first time in 18 years. I haven't had a boy on the mat. You kind of leave something empty right on you.
Yeah, well,
because
it's like a little different. Like whenever the kids move out of the house and parents have like this empty nest syndrome, and they're like, oh my gosh, like what do we do and how do we kind of figure this out? So there's almost like an empty mat syndrome going on in the Mullen household right now.
It is.
Well,
no, it really is. Like my wife and for 2 years we'd been having the high school wrestle on Friday, Saturday, and then watching the boys wrestle on Sunday, or watching their duel matches, flying to different places to watch them wrestle. And this year we're after Sunday, we go to church, 9 o'clock service, and then we're sitting there doing this. I've actually watched movies the last 2 Sundays, and I haven't watched 2 movies in 3 years, and I've watched 3 movies in 2 weeks because I'm not traveling to a tournament.
Well, maybe instead of wasting your time, watching the boob tube, you can, like, I don't know, do some more jujitsu, like get back out there on the mats a little bit more. I mean, maybe this is your time to get back on the mats in a major way. How about that?
I don't know too many jujitsu gyms that are open on Sunday because that's my only day.
Well,
I'm still wrestling on Friday and Saturday. I mean, we're going to be getting after it this weekend too.
Well, come to the Forge down in Edmond. They got some Sunday classes, and we got a group of guys. Yep, they got a Sunday afternoon class, and then we got a group of guys that get together Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. I invite the whole world. So 7 p.m. the Forge, Edmond, Oklahoma on Sundays, guys. Come and check it out. Well,
does that mean I get to show you up if I show up? I get to take that red beard.
There's a lot of people that would love to see that, but
rub it in the mat.
I feel like we should save that for charity. Like, maybe like a little charity match or something like that.
I like it.
All right.
I like it.
All right.
I like it.
Well, I mean,
the loser has to shave their beard.
Hey, loser shaves their beard. But either way, we're going to be sitting next to each other at the UFC White House event. I'm very much so looking forward to that. So I appreciate that very much. Well, we got to get into the news cycle of the day. And so Epstein, the Epstein Files are back in the news. And right when the shutdown ended, which is interesting, the timing of whenever some of these things were released, there was a new kind of tranche of emails that were released. And, these are definitely going to be the ones that sink Donald Trump and, sink the whole administration and all the different things. And the thing is, I can't tell if the Epstein stuff is really on the American populace's mind, or if it's just this online phenomenon where if you're on X, it's like the only thing anyone can talk about. But if you're outside touching grass or you're working for a living, then maybe it's not really a thing. But here we are, even though the Biden administration was a thing for 4 years and they had the files. And if there was something that would have sunk Donald Trump, they were certainly willing to release it. But now all of a sudden, I just don't really know what to make of this story. Obviously, I'm anti-pedophilia. I think anyone that's involved in pedophilia of any kind, I think those people should be executed. I'm all for all those things. I just don't know that there's any there with this story, even though as we're recording this afternoon, isn't the House voting on releasing more documents? I just don't know what to make of this story.
Well, the House just voted like 421 to 1. There was only one guy that didn't vote for it. Troy Nils. He's a sheriff out of, was it Troy Nils? Clay Higgins. Sorry, Clay Higgins, a former sheriff out of Louisiana, voted no, and he's a great guy. So I'm kind of curious of what his reason to vote against it. Let's just break this whole thing down. I think you did a great job trying to explain it, but I want to just kind of look at the hypocrisy of these Democrats, which I call this is the new Russian gate. This is the Epstein gate, because 4 years, not a word, not a peep about this, right? Donald Trump gets into office and now it's all about the Epstein, all about Epstein, all about Epstein. 43 days of shutdown, not one word, not one word.
That's right.
The day it opens up, every left-leaning fake news outlet started running Epstein. Day one. President comes out and says, fine, release it. Release all the files. Now, people say, well, why didn't he do that earlier? Well, the reason why he didn't do this earlier was because there was 2 grand juries, New York and Florida, that the judges haven't released the files. And even though Pam Bondi has called on them to release it, Kash Patel's called on them to release it, President Trump's called on them to release it, they haven't released it. So what the White House was concerned about is that them releasing these files, but not releasing the ones that the grand jury saw. There's a reason why these files were not used in the grand jury, because the incriminating ones are in the grand jury's hands. And so the president wanted to release all of them at the same time. What's interesting about this is when they released them, the smoking gun, we've heard that on Russian Gate, right? The smoking gun is going to be proving that the connection with Epstein with President Trump is going to be them being buddies. And what did we find out? Actually, Epstein was working with a delegate, a representative from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Stacey.
Yeah, Democrat.
A Democrat, during a hearing trying to tell her what to say to make President Trump look bad because President Trump kicked Epstein out of his club. And then what we found out is Summers, who ran the finance committee for Bill Clinton, who was also a political insider for the Democrat Party, was referred to as Epstein being Summers' wingman. Quote, I'm his wingman. And it was countless interactions, countless times they flew together, countless times he went to the island. And then, oh, wait a second, Mr. Lewinsky himself, Bill Clinton, was on the plane not once, not twice, not 10 times, but 26 times he flew with Epstein on his plane. Now, where's the smoking done with President Trump? What this is doing, and once again, is Russian Gate. It's all being turned back around. It was actually the Democrats who's trying to accuse Trump of doing something when actually it was the Democrats and the Democrat Party that was colluding with a known sex offender at the time, because Summers knew he was a sex offender. Bill Clinton knew he was a retro sex offender when he was on the plane. And Stacey, the congresswoman slash delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands, knew he was a sex offender, and by the way, solicited him for $30,000 to give to the DCCC. Why he was a known sex offender. So who's this looking bad on? But the question is Kyle, will the left-leaning fake news actually play this? Nope. Not a word from them about what these emails said. They're not running any stories on it. They're not doing anything. It's all about the files being released, but not what's actually in the files being released.
Well, and here's the other thing. So I kind of follow Occam's razor, which is like the simplest explanation is the most likely. So the explanation that has the least amount of things contingent upon each other is probably the thing that's most likely the truth. So the thing here is, why would anyone want to stop this from being released? I think, yes, there are powerful people that don't want to be named in this, but I think there's something even less nefarious where it's like, what if you were in a picture? Let's say you were at some sort of event with Epstein back in the day, and you didn't know him from Adam, but someone just introduced you like, hey, here's my buddy, Mr. Epstein and all that, and you shake hands.
Which happens to us all the time.
And then now, oh, look, this senator or this business owner or this college professor or president is in a picture with Jeffrey Epstein. I wonder if there's more behind it. I think there's a lot of that going on, because you have people that are not even associated with him. They never went to an event at the behest of him, never flew on his plane, never went to his island, that would be named in these files. Because when you do such a deep dive on an individual person that's this skeezy and has this many nefarious connections, there's going to be a whole lot of people that get caught up in the dragnet. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, there is. And there's a lot of people out there that just they literally collect pictures with elected officials. I don't know why. I don't have a clue why people would want a picture with an elected official, but people do that. It's one of those things they hang in the hall of their office buildings and stuff. And so a lot of that just being connected. I mean, I'll tell you, I've never took a picture with Epstein because I never saw him ever in my life, but there is some of that. But what was really interesting to me is the reason why the White House was kind of leery about sending out the open files without the grand jury releasing them too, is because when a conspiracy theory starts, it's hard to stop. And so when there's areas to fill in the blanks, people take liberty with filling in the blanks. I mean, we see Tucker Carlson filling in a lot of blanks. You see Candace Owens that's filling in a lot of blanks. And I'm talking about the extreme Republican side. Now you take the Democrat side and you do the same thing. And people want to believe these theories because the theories sound truthful, because you can make a theory about anything, but when all of it's released all at once, there is no blanks. There is no fill in the blanks. Everything's out there on the table. I mean, think about how many blanks have been filled in with conspiracy theories on JFK files, on Martin Luther King files. The list goes on and on. And I think what the White House was really wanting to do is put all this to bed at once and just throw it out there. And I still think that's the plan, because that's why they keep petitioning these grand jury judges to release all these files. And I want to point out too, the only president that has called for these files to be released isn't Obama, isn't Clinton, isn't Biden. President Trump called on it when he was Trump 45, and he's also called it on it as Trump 47. So why would it that a guy that the Democrats are saying has something to hide be the one saying release the files, and the 3 previous Democrat presidents have never said release the files? They've been dead silent on it.
Well, dead silent on it, especially when it's convenient for them. But I do actually want to talk about it. I was going to ask you about Tucker and Candace Owens and some of those people. The convenient thing about conspiracy theorists is they can always just widen the size of the conspiracy. So it's like, okay,
Right.
here's where the thing happened. Okay, then they don't really have the goods to prove that the thing happened. It's like, oh, well, then these people were involved. And then it's proved that those people are exonerated. And then it's like, oh, well, it's even bigger than I even thought. And specifically the last couple of weeks, I feel like I'm living in the bizarro world of Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, some of these people as it pertains to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And
Oh my goodness.
For me personally, I try to have a standard that I'm sharing more publicly now, which is basically our truth tellers. So whether that is journalists or politicians or pastors or whatever people you say are the purveyors of truth, we have to hold those people to a high evidentiary standard, meaning if you make a fantastical claim, you better have some evidence that proves your claim. Because if I throw something out there that's just speculative or a hypothesis, I don't have to back it up with any evidence because it's just a hypothesis. I'm just spitballing. But if you basically outright say without saying it, because you don't want to get sued if you say it outright, but you imply heavily that Erica Kirk, TPUSA, the Trump administration, and the Jews are all somehow involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Don't forget J.D. Vance.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
and J.D. Vance, and obviously because him and Erica are sleeping together, clearly because they hugged once at a public event. And so the thing is you can make these fantastical claims. You don't make them outright, so you know you won't be sued for libel or slander. But then the right, Mark Wayne, is being romanced by this because, man, I get a lot of hate for different opinions that I have out there. But when I am critical of Candace Owens for giving no receipts for her claims, I am just castigated and destroyed in the comments and in the DMs from people that are like, how dare you go against her? She's the only one speaking truth. And I'm like, that might be the case.
She's not truth.
But at
It's
some
not even,
point,
it's
she's
not
got to
the
get the
case.
receipts at some point, right?
Yeah, it's not even the case. It's like, it's, you know, first of all, we all have a sense of responsibility to ourselves. Right.
Right.
So if you choose to believe it, then you choose to allow, that to take hold on you. If you have a sense of responsibility too, to also do the research yourself.
Right.
And when they say they have a source, a reliable source,
Right.
a reliable source could be chat GTP or whatever that is. Right. I mean, it could be someone that you're sitting there talking to at a card game that decides to throw out some ridiculous theory. And all of a sudden it's a reliable source. It doesn't mean anything, and they're so ridiculous. Candace Owens has went so far down this hole that she's completely lost the ability to even be relevant. I mean, just think about this. I mean, you're accusing Erica Trump of killing her husband.
Kirk, yeah.
And yeah, Erica Kirk. I mean, Erica Kirk to killing her husband and the father to her children.
Yeah.
I mean, you're accusing J.D. Vance of being associated with it because you guys have a secret relationship, because they have such a close relationship. I mean, a close friendship. I mean, you had the guy who canceled his entire schedule to fly down to pick up his best friend in Air Force Two and fly him home back to Arizona. And somehow now, because you can't be friends today. Because if you're friends with someone that's going through a difficult time, the online's going to make it an assumption that all of a sudden you have a relationship. I mean, don't forget, Usha has a relationship with Erica too.
Yeah,
and they're friends, and they talk about this all the time. Their friendship. So now you're telling me that if God forbid one of my best friends, something happens to him, that I can't be friends to his widow? I mean, that's not even biblical.
Sure.
We can talk about the biblical side if we want to. And yet she and even Tucker Carlson is going down that rabbit hole and making audacious claims that none can be supported. But it just fits into a narrative that they're trying to, because their base eats that stuff up.
Right.
And I've said this multiple times, a lie is easier to tell than the truth is to explain. And people naturally gravitate towards that. And these people should be held accountable. I was talking to my wife this weekend about it. And I hope Turning Point USA, I hope JD, and I hope Erica all sue Candace Owens over this, because they should. It is slander at this point. It's not even kind of, it is 100% slander. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that. I personally wanted to sue a lot of people that go online and make these ridiculous claims about me. And I've chose not to, but at some point you need to. And in this case, they need to, because they're accusing them of being murderers. And that's defamation at its worst.
Hey guys, real quick. So you're there. You're in a small town. You've been invited over to someone's house for dinner. You walk through the kitchen and you get that smell, the smell of home cooking. You go to the back porch where they're grilling or smoking meat and you get that smell, and then you get the taste. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, guys. It tastes incredible. The flavors are big and bold. It feels like home and it feels like happiness, right? Well, you try to pull that same thing off at your house, but all you have in your cabinet are some random seasonings from the store, right? And many of these big companies just make bland blends, and we all know this by now. Bland blends lead to bland food, and bland food leads to a bad food experience. And I don't want you guys to have any bad food experiences. That's why I want to remind you about my friends at G's Seasoning. G's Seasoning is a small, family-owned and operated seasoning company from a small town in rural Texas. The recipe for their flagship all-purpose seasoning has been passed down in their family, and now they're passing it on to you. And I've used G's all-purpose seasoning on beef, pork, wild game. It's really, really awesome on elk, by the way. Chicken, fish, eggs, veggies, and yes, the daddy hack of all daddy hacks, popcorn. And also, I'm super, super pumped for this. They have a brand new seasoning out now, salt and pepper blend. So it's a classic seasoning duo, right? But G's has leveled it up. So G's salt and pepper blend uses 2 different grains of top shelf flake salt and 2 different grinds of hand-cracked black pepper to give you the bold flavor you're looking for. And I've used it so far on brisket and burgers, and dude, amazing. So throw out all of your bland big box store seasonings. Support a small town American family business by going to gsseasoning.com. That's gsseasoning.com. And guys, if you're looking for a stocking stuffer for this Christmas season, these bottles fit really well into your average stocking. So guys, get a case of them. Give them out to all your family members. Give them out to all the people at the office. Again, that's gsseasoning.com. That's Gulf Sierra Seasoning.com. Order today. Well, and here's the thing. Sometimes when people think that something is plausible, they also think it's likely. Well, something can be plausible and not likely. The thing is they're not even getting to plausible, because the thing that I'm sitting here is like, okay, so Erica Kirk is, murdering her husband so that she can be chairman of the board and so that she can be a single mom. Okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, the Trump administration, who behind Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, probably the person that's 4th most responsible for getting Donald Trump elected is Charlie Kirk. Why would they want to kill him before J.D. Vance or someone else runs for president here in 3 years? Okay, explain that one. Why would the Jews want to take him out? And here's the other thing I will say. Candace Owens is speaking for someone who can't speak for themselves now. The only person I am willing to listen to today that will speak on behalf of Charlie Kirk is Erica Kirk. The rest of you can shut your traps. I don't care if you worked for him, worked with him, were best buddies with him, or anything like that. Erica can speak for Charlie. And guess what? If you're claiming some fantastical thing like you're being visited in your dreams by your dead best friend or something like that, well, guess what? That is a non-falsifiable claim. And you know what that isn't? Evidence. That's not evidence. It's something that gets people to download your podcast, but it's not something that gets us closer to the truth. So,
right.
But here, well,
I mean, literally, that's what, but I want you to say that, I want you to point that out again. She literally said she believes this because she knows in deep down in her spirit, because she was visited. I think that's the word she said. I might be wrong on that, but she was visited by Charlie in her dreams.
Right. Which you can't falsify that. But what if I were to say, okay, well, Charlie visited me in my dreams and says that you're insane. How do you falsify that?
Yeah, I don't. At some point you got to stop, and people that are buying into this are responsible for their own actions. She can say what she wants to say, but if you choose to believe this, load of crap, then that's on you. And I don't want to get biblical and start talking about that, so I'll stop. But I'm just saying personally, it's absolutely disheartening that someone would do this. Someone would go after Erica and try to slander her. Someone would go after JD and try to slander him when she lost her husband and he lost his best friend. And it all starts with a hug.
Yeah, and I'm
with a hug.
Right, and I'm shocked by the moral obtuseness of some people, including some that are in my audience and are not going to be thrilled that we're even talking about this. But I will say this as
I don't, but I don't care. I'm not just saying this. I wake up every morning and say, love the people, love the call. So even people that disagree with me, I still love you. But I don't care, because speaking the truth is more important than buying into a lie. And you're responsible for yourself in this one. So I will always lean towards that direction. And if I'm hurting your feelings, I tell people this all the time, that I will let you ask me anything, but if you don't like my answer, that's not my fault. I may not like your question either. And so don't get mad at me because I have an opinion and you have an opinion, except I just choose not to chase crazy.
Well, and also the macabre thing here is if those people do sue Candace Owens or any of these other people, it actually emboldens them, because they're like, you see, I told you it was a conspiracy. They're trying to shut me up. But hey, before we get you out of here, we'll just have to do...
Actually, that's a good point, by the way.
Well, that's the thing. So that they win either way. But it is interesting how quiet Candace Owens has gotten about Emmanuel Macron's wife ever since she was sued for that, and also tried to get the suit dismissed, even though publicly she said she would never try to get it dismissed. But hey, details or whatnot. But well, we're running out of time here, so this is going to be just very brief, and it's hard to really know. Again, we just had an off-year election, right? All the off-year elections basically took place in deep blue places. But Zohran Mamdani, a Muslim Islamist communist, is now going to be, he's the mayor-elect of our most important financial city in this entire country, if not the entire world. And there were some other candidates, Portland, Minnesota, that had very communist leanings that are even going to the left of the far left members of the Democratic Party, and they seem to be gaining some traction. Again, off-year election, anytime there's somebody else in the White House and controlling Congress, the opposite party has good off-year elections and typically good midterms. But is this a clarion, or not a clarion call, but is this like a signal in the future of maybe perhaps what is to come with the decaying Democratic Party, to where it's like people to the left of even the leftists in the Democratic Party are going to primary these people? And if the economy doesn't do well, that we're going to see more candidates that are open democratic socialists, which are essentially communists without guns. Are we going to see more of that?
Yeah, you absolutely will. That's why you saw the leadership running towards Mamdani and the sponsorship. That's why when you saw the No Kings rally, which a lot of the Democrats were speaking at, was sponsored by CPUSA. I'm not making it up. It was part of their posters. CPUSA is Communist Party United States of America. It was on the, we actually, you can look at our True Social post or our X post too, and we actually circled their logo and it says CPUSA was one of their major sponsors. You see some of these candidates that was actually receiving PAC checks from CPUSA, some of these far left Democrat candidates, and even a couple that won. Yes, the party is running to the left, and you would think that they lost elections a year ago because the American people didn't support that. What's happened is they're just digging in deeper, and that's why the Democrat Party's popularity is at the lowest it's ever been since it's been measured as a Democrat Party as itself, and they can't get away from it. Why? Because the individuals know that today's elections, most of them are fought in the primary, not the general. And a prime example of that is out of 33 senators that are up for re-election this year, we only have really 4 competitive seats out of 33. Yeah. So that means that 29 will be decided in the primary. So the Democrats have to run to this left base because that's who's showing up and voting in their primaries. And so you're going to see them continually push towards the left. They're openly calling themselves socialist Democrats now. They actually have a pin that says SD, and some of them just say, and those are small pins. Some of them are actually wearing pins that are big pins that look like a button that say socialist Democrats. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point that their party splits if they don't get hold of it. If they can't make that right turn to get away from going so left and get farther to this, get closer to the middle again, I can really see where the party decides that it's going to go away, because they get more and more extreme, where they're openly embracing the Communist Party and allowing them to endorse their rallies now. That's scary.
It is scary, but we'll keep an eye on it. Well, that's all for me. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, sir. I think we went down the rabbit hole with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson far enough, but I have a lot to say about that too, though.
Well, it'll give us something to talk about again when we're sitting next to each other on the White House lawn. Hey, what fight, what kind of dream fight would you want to have there? If you could like wave your magic wand, you and I sitting there with our Budweisers, what's the fight you want to see?
Well, I don't drink, so I won't have a beer in my hand.
We could do Budweiser, or we could do the Heineken non-beer thing. That's a thing.
First of all, you'd have to assume that you're going to be sitting beside
right,
me.
Just right next to you.
That's a tall order,
or maybe right behind you. But either way,
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Conor McGregor trying to come back. He's been gone long enough, but I get that he pulls a fan or pulls a lot of base. John Jones, he's got his own problems he fights, but I'd love to see him fight again. I really would. I would love to see him get back in the cage one more time. He's not this showboat guy like Conor is. Conor's a good fighter. I'm not saying he's not, but John Jones, I'd like to see him come back in the top shape. And I think he was one of the best fighters of all times. I think he was one of the most dangerous and scariest guys of all times. He just fought himself, his own personal battles. I'd love to see him come back, since he's been so open about it, come back clean, come back focused, and have one more fight and retire after that.
Well, and we currently have 0 male American champions in the UFC. 0. Kayla Harrison on the women's side is the only American champion. So we got to have some Americans step up at some point. But all right, Mark Wayne, we'll talk again soon.
All right. See you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.